Hello, everyone, and welcome to 100% You, a podcast which is all about discovering who you're truly meant to be and becoming the best version of yourself. I'm your host, Bari Barel, and I've been on the self development journey for the past 14 years and spiritual journey for the past 12 years. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a freestyle. I have a really important topic that I want to talk about, and I just thought that the best way to do it is just press on record and start talking. The content of today's episode is something that really helps me to shape my reality, to shape how I think, and help me shift a lot of things in my life. So I hope it will do the same for you, because when you understand this concept, it will literally can change your life. So let's start with today's episode. Okay, so we all been taught that what you think has a really strong power on the reality that we have, how we experience our external reality. But I want to go deeper on that and actually give you the core understanding of how powerful it is, and how understanding how much weight you have on each of your thoughts. So the first concept we need to understand before we touch anything regarding our thoughts is understand the most basic principle that I believe that most of you already heard about, that 5% is our conscious mind and 95% is unconscious mind. Basically, what it says that only 5% of your thoughts are something that you aware of. It's something that is in your conscious. And there's entire huge world inside yourself internally that you don't really aware of that is happening inside. It's in your subconscious. You may appear to be the most happy person alive, but you might have an extremely negative subconscious mind that you are not even aware of. So 99% of your brain basically have the subconscious mind, and only 5% is your conscious mind, what you aware of, you know what you're thinking about. And another concept that you probably heard also about is that 95% of our thoughts are basically a repeating thoughts or patterns that we have each and every day. So those two numbers you need to really remember, that only 5% is your conscious mind, and that 95% of your thoughts are repetitive thoughts that you basically are not even aware of, and you thinking about them each and every day repetitively. So we'll put that aside for a second. And now I want to go with you to the power of your thoughts. We're thinking all the time. Even if you're not thinking, you have thoughts running in your brain. You might think that you don't think, but if you will notice, even if you just go for a walk, you're gonna have like those random thoughts of like, maybe your brain will be on pause, but you will have some random, really random thoughts of like, oh, I don't know, the dress that I saw yesterday was really nice. Or I wonder what is the name of the fastest person in this world. Like random thoughts that you might not be aware of. And maybe you will start thinking about, I don't know, like, you know yourself. Everyone has different thoughts. Everyone has their own like weirdness thoughts that we might think about. But we always have some kind of things going on in our brain, even if we think that we're on pause. The only way that when we don't think is if you're like in deep meditation, you can reach a place where you don't really think. And this is like amazing way to reorganize your life, reorganize your thoughts, and really be aware of what you have in your mind. But let's take the average person. The average person usually don't really know what's going on in their head, and probably they have like random thoughts running all the time. Now, the thing here, you need to understand like how your life is operating. I just had a conversation with my brother a few days ago, and he told me that I don't remember what was the specific thing. And also, I want to keep his life private. I didn't ask him for permission to talk about it, but he told me about something that he really wanted to change in his life. And and at some point he told me, no, but this is like a fact. This is like something that happening in my life over and over again. So I know it's a fact for sure. And my brother is very spiritual. So we have like also deep conversations. It's not like I will tell him something and he will be like, no, I don't believe you. He's very open minded. So he told me like, this is a fact. And this something repeating in my life over and over again. So I realized it's a fact. And I told him, listen, but like it's not happening in my life, so it's not a fact. And he said, yeah, okay, but like we're different, so it's fact in my life, and it's in your life, it's not a fact because we're different. And I told him, yes, I agree with that, but you missed something in here. You can change your life any given moment. You can literally make your life a blank page and decide that you want to rebuild your entire life and reorganize your entire life. The thing is that most people don't have the tools and don't understand how to do it. And more than that, it's really hard to do it. So I told him, listen, what if what you're telling me right now, that this is a fact in your life, is basically something you have in your subconscious that basically makes it appear in your life again and again and again. And he said, no, I don't think so, because the first time it wasn't so obvious, and then it was their fault, and then in this fault. And like, he gave me all the explanation on why this is what happens, and it makes logical sense and everything. And I told him, I agree with you, and it's a fact right now in your life, but you can change it. Now, why you can change it, and then I gave him like entire lecture of like how our body operates. So one of the key things that I whoever don't know, I flew to Joe Dispenza retreat last year. It was exactly like a year ago. It was a bit more than a year. In 2025 in March, I was in Switzerland, in Basel. 3-day retreat of Joe Dispenza was amazing. I gained so much knowledge about how our body operates, about researches that related to meditation, and it's like really opened my mind. And I always say that my life is separated between before the retreat and after, because it literally gave me all the unsolved answers that I was looking for. So one of the main points that I took from the retreat is that, so we as human beings, we have basically around 30 trillion cells in our body, even more. Now, each and every cell has memory. And this is important. Remember the first concept I told you about, that 95% of our brain is basically unconscious and only 5% is conscious. So the same about our cells. Our cells basically hold memory. Now, this memory holds the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So that means that you have more than 30 trillion cells in your body that 95% of them hold subconscious things, feelings, behaviors, thoughts, memories, whatever. And only 5% of this 30 trillion is your awareness. So think how much big is your internal world that you're not even aware of. Now, if we go back to the cells, so the thing with your own cells in your body, also another thing is that researchers found that every 7 years, I believe that's the number, our body can basically rebuild itself completely. And most of the people don't change in the course of their entire life, or like maybe have some kind of changes, but not extreme changes. And the thing here is that you can literally rebuild your entire life, and in 7 years, and I believe that even less, you can change everything in your internal world, and then it will impact the external world. Now, your cells, as I said, 95% of your cells basically hold your subconscious mind. And to demonstrate it, what happens when you have something in your subconscious? Basically, your life manifests situations in your life that reflects what you hold in your memories, in your cells in the memory. Let's say that in my subconscious mind, I hold a thought that I'm not good enough. Maybe a thought that everyone that I encounter with, something bad happens to them. Okay. Or maybe you have a subconscious thought or belief that, I don't know, all Russians, I'm Russian, so all Russians are bad people. Okay. You have like different kind of like subconscious thoughts, beliefs, behaviors that's stored in your subconscious mind, in your cells. And as I said, we have more than 30 trillion cells. Now, what happens in that situation? This is part of your this subconscious thoughts, belief, behavior holds it basically stored in your subconscious mind, in those cells. Each and every cell hold this memory. And once you have some kind of memory, and it doesn't matter if you're aware of this memory or you're not aware of it, and it's in the subconscious, when your entire body holds cells with that memory, your life basically will reflect that. And you, without even knowing this, you will manifest in your life things that show you this reality. Okay? So I told my brother, maybe this is a fact right now in your life, but if you will understand what subconscious thoughts, belief, whatever fear you have there, and you will store a new one consciously, you will decide to implement a new belief, a new thought, a new something, you will start changing your internal reality without even knowing this and understanding this. And in result, you will change your external reality. This is something that is changeable, and it's in every area of your life. That's why when people say that when you want to manifest things, you need to tune to that type of frequency, because when you tune to that frequency, you can basically manifest it because you're matching that frequency. So the same thing goes when you have bad thoughts, bad behaviors, bad feelings that's stored in your subconscious mind, in your cells. And think about how many cells it is and how powerful it is when 95% of 30 trillion cells basically holds in incredible energy that manifests something that is subconsciously stored inside you. So when you change small tweaks of this, it takes time. So when you change the things, you change from a negative low frequency of something that you don't really want. And this, let's say you believe that all Russians are bad people. Okay, I don't know why I thought about this thoughts, but let's say subconsciously you think that all Russians are bad people. Okay. And what happens is that you're not aware of this, but this is something you probably hold in your subconscious mind, or like all men are bad, all I cannot finish doing anything, I'm bad at whatever. This is something you hold in your subconscious mind. And what happens is that this is the frequency you hold without even knowing this. And it can be changed once you implement a new frequency, you implement new thoughts, you implement new awareness, new feeling. That's why people say, especially in meditations, also in Joe Dispenza concept, like in his entire work, you need to match the frequency, the feeling. So you're trying to tune to some kind of frequency during the meditation. You have the thought of what you want, and then you need to match it to a feeling. Once you combine it, you create a frequency of this specific thing. Let's say you have some kind of disease that constantly coming back in your life. You probably don't know why it happened and why you have it, because it may be something you hold subconsciously. If you will do the work, and it can be a hard work, it can be an easy work, whatever you believe in, you can change it, and you can change the memory in your cells that basically reflects your reality. Everything in your external reality starts with your internal reality. Everything, especially if you see patterns in your life, this is probably something that you hold in your subconscious. And until you really understand what's going on there and how to release it, you'll keep repeating the same things. So nothing is a fact, okay? Nothing is a fact. Everything can be a fact for right now, how you operate, what memories you have stored in your cells. But everything is changeable. You can change everything and rebuild your entire reality from scratch. And this is something that I really want you to remember and understand this concept. So I can tell you that once I realized this, it was much easier for me to look at my life. I was always the kind of person who set goals, who tried to change myself, not change myself, but become a better version of myself. And once I realized this concept, simple concept, it became easier to understand the process to basically change the direction of where I'm going. Another thing that is really important to know, that until 12 age, we basically still live in our subconscious. So there's different, I talked about it in different episode, one of the first episodes, but basically there's different waves, brain waves that we have when we grow up. So from age 0 to 2, we are in delta waves. From age 2 to 6, we are in theta state waves. From age 6 to 12, we are operating from alpha wave states. And what does it mean? The younger we are, okay, and from age 12 and above, we are already developed the beta waves, which is basically the conscious mind. So until 12 age, we're basically operating fully, almost fully from our subconscious mind. So everything that we have in our external reality, we basically born as a blank page, and everything from our external reality, we observe it, and it holds as a memory in our cells in our body. Okay, the bigger the traumas you had, the bigger the things you had as a child, and the younger you were, it probably is more deep in your subconscious. So let's say if you had some kind of trauma at age 2, it's probably gonna hit much deeper than if you had trauma at age 12 or 11. So many things, many patterns that we have is things we observe from a really, really young age that we're not even aware of. And it can be as simple as a feeling, a frequency, different frequency we observed and stored in our memory, in our body. So first of all, if you're a parent, be very aware of this and how you basically raise your children. I think this is like one of the most important thing to understand how sensitive kids are until age 12. And as adult, you need to understand how deep things can hit you from a really, really young age. And you need to be aware that many things, many patterns that you hold is maybe from a really, really young age that you didn't even know about. That's why a lot of people are really strong at saying, yeah, go back to your inner child, heal your child, inner child, whatever. Why people say it? Because it basically going back to that period of your life where you lived fully in the subconscious and try to understand and go to the root places of what happened there, why do I have these patterns, what belief I have. And you can go to those places through meditation, through writing, whatever. But in general, also, if you don't do this deep work, which I do highly recommend doing this work and heal those part of yourself, you can start doing the work by just deciding what do you want in your life and start matching yourself to that frequency. When you will start taking this route, you will see that you will start also releasing and remembering things from your childhood, from your past, because eventually, in order to match some kind of frequency and doing this identity shift of yourself and change your entire biology of your cells and memories, you will have to let go of some kind of parts in yourself. And even if you don't aware of them now, they might surface. And most of the time they will surface because in order to release them fully, you need to be aware of them. And the best way to be aware of them is to put focus on something that we want to change in our life. Let's say I realized that I'll take real life example. So I realized that in my romantic relationships until like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I realized that I had a pattern that every time I really wanted someone, he was breaking up with me. And it doesn't make any sense until I locked myself in the situation. I understood that I must release this in order to get to my dream relationship, to be in a relationship with the love of my life. I must release and understand what's happening there because I could not understand. I saw a pattern. I did not know where it came from, but I put a lot of focus on this pattern. And just from putting a lot of focus on understanding that I want to release this pattern, and I did told myself like, what is the new frequency, the new energy that I want to tap to? I had like the new frequency that I want to tap to, and I knew what pattern I have, but I didn't know what should I release in order to get here to the higher frequency I'm showing with my hands. Once I put focus on the new frequency, what I want to change, who I want to become, it was a process of a few months, almost a year, that everything released to the surface, and I started releasing patterns from my childhood that I was completely unaware of. But because I put focus on what I want to change, what frequency I want to tune to, that whole process surfaced a lot of things from my past that I needed to release. It's not that I was thinking about what did I had in my past that I need to release. That can work, but many times we don't even aware of because it's so subconscious, we don't even aware of. It's in the 95% of our subconscious holds stored in our memories. So I'll try to summarize it to make it practical for you guys. So let's say you want to change something in your life. There is something repetitive in your life right now. You think it's a fact. Like my brother told me, this is the fact. I have it right now in your life. Nothing is a fact because you can literally reshape your entire reality. Everything is changeable, okay? You have a blank page. Each and every one of us experience reality completely different. So let's say you recognize what you want to change, you have a pattern, you have something you're not satisfied from, and you really don't understand how to change it. Maybe you try to change it, but it's not possible. So first stop and recognize, okay, there is something here I want to change. The second thing that you must do is to understand what do you want instead of what you have now. And be very specific. Be very specific of I want to feel freedom, I want to feel this, I want to be that type of person, I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like be very specific. What kind of person, what kind of behavior, what do you want to see in your life? Don't think if it's possible or not, because this is our number one barrier when we start to think about what is possible, what is not possible. Just think about what do you want. Then when you have the what do you want, what do I have now in my life, there's a gap between those two. You can start to think and experiment and try to, observe and try to maybe analyze and understand what's going on there. But if you don't know how to do it, first I would try really build that version of who is the new person of you. Like, what is the feeling that this person holds, this behavior holds? How does it feel in your body? How does it act? How do you behave? How do you think? How do you think? Okay, I'll separate it. How do you think? Whatever the thoughts that you have when you have this behavior, this belief, this, I don't know, thing in your life, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Second thing is, what is your behaviors? How do you operate when this is your life as the new version, as the new thing you want to let in your life? And the third thing is, how does it feel to have it or be that person or to have this new belief or have this whatever? Okay, so three things inside: your thoughts, your behaviors, and how do you want to feel? Because beliefs eventually is a combination of your thoughts and your behaviors. Because once you have enough thoughts that and enough behaviors, it's basically combined and it's a new belief. So you need to change the thoughts, behaviors, and feelings. Then, when you have this new version of yourself, what you want to have, and you start to recognize what is the old version of you, so you will go on a journey of basically remembering yourself and release the old version of yourself. Things will start to surface, and you will need to practice more and more the highest version of yourself and change consciously with awareness, full awareness, your daily thoughts regarding the specific thing you want to change. Write down is a really strong thing that can help you. Write down, be very aware of it. Maybe every time that this beliefs or behaviors or whatever, just stop and be very conscious about it. The more focus you put on this new thing, the easier it will become. Not necessarily easy, but you will get to this new version of yourself faster, because you put a lot of energy towards something. It might take a long of time. It can take weeks, it can take months, it can take even years sometimes. But when you put focus on something new and you try to tap all the time to that energy, to consciously rewiring your brain and change your thoughts, change your behaviors, change your feelings, you will see that things will start shift, because you are rewriting from scratch your memory in your cells, and you basically open the Pandora box and you try to implement something new inside. And in this process, things might surface. You might face things from the past, maybe traumas, maybe, I don't know, childhood memories, whatever. But in order to make this change, you must have, the higher version of what is the thing that I do want in my life. So I try to make it very simple. I basically just pour everything on you, but I think it was, straight to the point of what I want to give you this episode. I really hope it will help you. And I'm soon launching a tool that will actually help you with exactly what I was just talking about: rewiring your thoughts, your behaviors, your beliefs, your everything, feelings, in order to become the best version of yourself. So if you want to check it out, first of all, there's link in the description. Just write your email and you'll be the first one to know when it will launch. More than that, if you're not following this podcast yet, so I would really appreciate it if you can follow it wherever you listen to. And I'll see you next week. Bye.